Welcome to the Artist Impact Podcast, helping you gain confidence, grow your talent, and advance your impact. Here are your hosts, Paul Gibbs and Nate Miller.
And welcome, friends.
We're back.
Yeah, here we are. Number 30 of the Artist Impact Podcast, and hopefully something that's going to it maybe interest you, maybe even help you.
That'd be good.
Either way, yeah, we're loving it. So hopefully you will too. Thank you for being with us, and yeah. All right, let's get started.
Yeah.
First of all, we'd like to give you something that's kind of interesting because we know that you may not stay with us for the whole thing. You may just tune in just for, you know, the funny stuff, the good, interesting, but totally useless
The
stuff.
whole thing's funny, Paul.
That is true. That is true.
It's us.
It's us. Yeah, exactly. All right. So did you know that this... All right. This is some trivia for you. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see if you come up with this. Nate will get this. I know he will. What is the only vegetable or fruit that is never sold frozen, never sold canned or processed or cooked or in any other form except fresh? It's only sold fresh.
What? Oh my.
Vegetable or fruit. We'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
All right. So some things that National whatever Day, you know, and I just think this stuff is fascinating. National Cereal Day was March 7th. Yeah, what's your favorite kind of cereal?
I do like Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa Pebbles.
I haven't had them in a long time.
Oh, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you take Flintstone vitamins too?
No, I did as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I like all the Count Chocula and the Frankenberry and the Boo Berry.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
were good.
Oh, yeah. Cocoa.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like Cocoa Puffs. I'm not into chocolate in my cereal, but that's okay. You know.
Or Lucky Charms. I used to eat all the cereal bits so that I just have a bowl full of marshmallow at the end.
Yeah, and it was so sweet.
Yeah, that was the best.
It was really good. Yeah. So, yeah. Couple others here. Then don't let me forget to answer that question.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So this is funny. What is a proofreader's blood type? Type O.
Oh, man, that's bad.
That was really bad. All right. Well, anyway, March 8th was, because all this stuff was by the time you're seeing and hearing this,
Yeah.
that was a proofreading day.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know who figured that out, but anyway. All right, and I'm really interested in this one because, you know, being a classic car kind of a guy. 1964, guess what rolled off the assembly line for the very first time in March of 1964?
The Model T.
No, that was I don't know what year that was. Anyway.
24 maybe.
Yeah, might have been. 1964, 18 months after it was approved, the first Ford Mustang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, rolled off the assembly line. They released it to the public on April 17th, and they sold over 22,000 of them on that first day. Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. How many of you still have the first Mustang you ever bought?
Maybe Matchbox car.
Matchbox, yeah, there are probably a lot of them around. I am a proud Mustang owner, I have to say. Yeah, I have a 2010 convertible black. All right, anyway, so only fruit or vegetable never sold frozen or canned or processed or cooked or in any other form except fresh. Come on, who's got it?
Rutabaga? I don't know.
Rutabaga. Good guess. Good guess.
I have no idea.
Well,
I know I'm going to kick myself when I hear this.
you probably will. It's lettuce.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Lettuce.
If you think about it.
Yeah. Or even if you don't. Yeah, lettuce. So let us move on.
I hate
right.
vegetable jokes. They're so corny.
Yeah, they are so.
All right, we're having way too much fun here.
Way too much fun. All right. All right. So I got some stuff that happened this week, and people that were born, this month, I'm sorry, and people that were born. Well, if we have time, we'll get to that. So you might want to stick around for that because that's interesting stuff as well. All right.
All right. Well, so the other week we had talked about that we were going to mention or discuss NFTs.
NFTs.
And we never did get to that. So
we never did.
Did you get some information for us for
I
this
do,
week?
and we were talking. It doesn't mean newfangled technology, although that does kind of fit the description here. So anyway, I looked up this article, and have you heard of NFTs? NFTs.
You know,
yeah.
I'm seeing that all over the internet, and not just related to the music industry, but that's a huge
Yeah.
buzzword that we constantly see as we're doing our research.
And I think we're going to hear a lot more about it. You know, if you happen to have a signed copy of an original LP, for example, or an original piece of art, or an original anything that you have proof that it is the original, then that's great. But what do you do when you have a digital copy, or not, excuse me, a digital original? Digital original. Ooh,
Yeah, I
that's
like
good.
that.
Yeah. How do you prove that it's the original? Well, enter the NFT, or non-fungible token.
Such a fun word.
That is.
Non-fungible.
Fungible. Yeah. Anyway, it's a way of proving that something in digital form is the original. You know, record albums, paintings, GIFs of NBA players dunking. You know, they're all selling for big bucks, and the media just can't get enough of it. So this is a way that proves they're original. So NFT, non-fungible token, it's a way to prove ownership of an original digital file. For example, there's only one original painting of Starry Night by Van Gogh. There's only one open reel master of Bob Marley's Catch a Fire album.
Wow.
Or a lot of other albums that were recorded on tape that's, you know, the original 2-inch tape and those original tapes. But the original obviously will always be worth more than copies. But what an NFT does, it allows the creator of the file to add a bit of data to the electronic file, or more accurately, add an electronic file to a non-fungible token that proves its original provenance. That's a tough word there. where it came from and who owns it. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because
It is.
you know, you think about it, we're in this like streaming and downloading stage or era, but people still want to own a piece of the property of their favorite artists. And when we talked the other week about, you know, the Gen Z is latching onto physical copies of CDs now, which is interesting because they didn't grow up with them. But there's this hunger to like own kind of like the art or the, you know, the music and everything. And with digital copies, everybody's streaming or downloading things, like you don't have that. And so there's still this desire for people, for fans, especially super fans, to kind of own a piece of that. And what better way than to own the original? But like you said, how do you prove that you have the original? But now with these NFTs, it's like a digital stamp.
Right.
So that's really interesting.
It is. You can sell these more than once. It proves that the original it is the original, but you can also sell them. NFTs can be bought and sold multiple times, and their ownership trail will always be recorded and confirmed in that database. So which allows owners to resell NFTs and the digital artwork they come with for a profit if they're inclined to do so. Not just artwork, but music. So it allows you to prove that you own this thing, whatever it might be, and it allows the digital creations to become collectible. Yeah, and any kind of digital file can be attached to an NFT. So, like you said, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about that.
It's so crazy. I mean, it's just ones and zeros out there in cyberspace, but people are paying. I'm assuming they're paying a lot of money to get these originals from the artist, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I suppose you could digitize music, for example, if like we talked about the original multi-track recording of an album, could be copied or made a digital file, digitized, and that could be said, okay, this was done on this date, and this is from the original multi-track tape, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so have you guys heard about NFTs? If you haven't, you probably will hear more. And I don't know what kind of cost is involved with any of this. So, but you know, as we hear more about it, we'll share that with you because you know you might you might want to take one of your songs and whatever and attach it to an NFT. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right, so I have a related thing to the NFT. This comes from the Music and Copyright Report, the most recent one, and I'm just going to read this the whole thing. It's pretty short, but talks specifically about NFTs, like we were just mentioning. It says, now is the time for music stakeholders to reap the full benefits of NFTs. Until fairly recently, no one in the music business was giving much thought to non-fungible tokens, but now record companies and artists alike can't seem to get enough of these tradable digital assets. So there's a good way of thinking of them as tradable digital assets. There is money to be made in a market where prices are ballooning. And he gives the example here, Snoop Dogg and Grimes are just two artists to have cashed in the financial, have cashed in, and headlining acts and their management really ought to be engaging with NFTs while the financial appetite for this type of asset lasts. So, like we said, this is kind of becoming a buzzword. It's sort of ballooning, as this article says. It's going to be really interesting to see in the near future what the progression of this is going to be. Is it going to take off like Bitcoin did? You know, in the beginning when Bitcoin first came out, people were like, what is this? And, you know, you never know if those things are going to last, if they're going to just fizz out or whatever. But the people who did jump in the beginning and invest in Bitcoin now have a pretty good return on their investment because Bitcoin has grown hugely since it was first introduced. So I'm going to be really curious to see if the same thing happens with NFTs. But he's suggesting, this article is saying that artists and management should start getting in on this now while the financial appetite for this lasts. It says these tokens are more than mere collectibles. They offer a way for music companies and artists to both boost engagement with audiences and increase revenue from fans who are looking for experiences beyond the recorded track and stage performance. So again, it goes back to that idea that fans are they're hungry and they're more interested in a connection and feeling like they own part of what we are doing as artists. They don't want to just, stream your song on Spotify or watch a video of you on YouTube or even go to a concert. They want to own a piece of that. And this plays to that strength. Fans always want to be part of what you're doing. And now, even in a digital age, you can allow them to do that. And for a small fee, whatever that might be, they can own an original piece of your artwork in a digital state. So really cool.
That is
interesting
really,
things.
Yeah, I like what you said there about owning a piece of the artist, whatever, which is ties into what we talked about last time about CDs making a comeback.
Right.
People they don't want to just have a flash drive or just go to a concert and then go home and stream your music. They love it when you have a physical CD, and then to have not only just the copies, but to have quote unquote signed copies.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. So let's continue on in technology here. This is a really interesting article. Again, part of the Music and Copyright Report. This is talking specifically about AI-produced artwork, and it starts with artwork, but then ties it into music. And I really found this fascinating, so I want to share this with our listeners. It says the U.S. Copyright Office denies Stephen Thaler's registration of an AI-produced artwork for a third time. Okay, and then here's the article. It says the U.S. Copyright Office has for a third time refused a request from artificial intelligence pioneer Stephen Thaler to register a piece of two-dimensional art that Thaler said was created solely by an AI machine. In a statement, the office said that after reviewing the application, deposit copy, and relevant correspondence, along with Thaler's arguments, the review board denied the registration. The office explained that one of the main criteria for any copyright registration is human authorship. As Thaler stated that the artwork was created without his input, the application was turned down. Although Thaler's registration attempt was about a piece of two-dimensional artwork and nothing to do with recorded music, the use of AI to create music is gathering pace, and so the denial by the office to accept a work made using AI only is equally as relevant to proponents of AI-created music as it is to any other creative work. So I found this really interesting because, we all know even organic music, or if you want to call it analog music, is being done digitally now, if not solely, largely. So the use of computers and computer generated VSTs and plugins and other things are constantly being used more and more as we're recording music in studios. So, and there are people out there that do create music completely digitally.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times they're driving the creative process. They're choosing, what pieces to put in, and they're kind of forming it. So they do have input. So this probably doesn't apply, but this is a really interesting idea, because as people get more and more into the idea of using computers to generate music, I mean, if somebody uses an algorithm and just lets the computer go and create the piece itself, this is an interesting argument from the Copyright Office saying that the very definition of a copyright requires human,
authorship
or input.
Yeah.
So we know how things change all the time, and laws always morph and everything based on situations and just the culture. So it's possible in the near future that these things could change. But what an interesting idea, because they're saying this is for a two-dimensional piece of artwork, but the applications for music are interesting as well. So I don't know, our listeners out there, are you guys doing computer-generated music? Like I said, DJs, they obviously have some input into what they're spinning or mixing in and everything. But if anybody is out there experimenting with completely computer run and like algorithm created music, this is something to think about. Can you get a copyright for that then? Can you claim ownership if you didn't create it completely or solely? So
interesting.
Very interesting.
Wow.
I want to keep an eye on this.
It seems to me, as you're talking about that, it seems to me that there will be, if that continues and increases more and more of that there would be two different types of music, AI music and, what do we say, human music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one do you want to listen to? I hope that line doesn't get too blurred so that we can't tell the difference. Anyway.
And it'll be interesting to know if the Copyright Office would finally give a ruling, there has to be whatever percentage, 10% of human interaction or whatever. And then somebody who does create completely computer generated music, if they just do, I don't know, one thing to it, put a human voiceover or something they add in, will that be enough for the Copyright Office to say, okay, you actually had some input here? So some interesting things to think about.
That's for sure. It sounds like a good episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation with Commander Data, who was as you fans, he was an android.
Right.
And I think there was even an episode about...
He played Did he play Trump? No, that was Will Riker played trombone.
Yes, but no...
He played violin, didn't he?
He played something, yeah. But he I remember that episode. He played it very mechanically.
Yeah.
There was no real... Yeah, so if Data wrote a song, could he get a copyright on that today? Probably not.
Probably. But according to this,
but someday. Anyway, hey, let's talk about radio for a little bit. How many of you have your songs on radio? Yes? If not, maybe you've tried and you haven't been able to. But, radio, of course, is... it's a tool that most of us musicians can use and should be using to get our music out there, local or otherwise. Yeah, the radio. So radio is a source of constant promotion, allows you to get spotted or heard in a way that no other way is possible. So we're going to talk about 3 different kinds of radio here, and see if any of these resonate with you, or if you've tried these, maybe you'd like to give us some input on maybe your results, or if you've thought about it, or whatever. So first, let's talk about internet radio, which is something we know quite a bit about because we have one. WNSMDB, Notespire Radio, is
shameless plug. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe you've listened to that. If you haven't, please do check that out at notespireradio.com.
Yeah.
All right. And this, according to this article, this is a good happy medium for artists to get their music heard. So internet radio, of course, as broadcasts, obviously, only over the internet. It's not over the air. You pick it up with your computer on your desktop, or there are several mobile apps to listen to internet radio. So one of them is called Live 365. Another one is Streema, Streema. It's another app that you can download on your phone. These apps are free, and what you do is you download the app, install it on your phone, and then search for the station or the genre or whatever that you want to listen to. You could download the Live 365 and search for Notespire Radio. You'll find it. Or if you want to just search Christian radio stations or 60s or 50s or
Right.
oldies or whatever, or pop or just talk or whatever. So internet radio is becoming more and more popular, and I think I don't have the data right now, but we did a podcast on internet radio a while back.
Yeah,
It was
there's a lot of good info in
there's
that one.
a lot of stations online. So if you haven't checked out internet radio in general, please do. As an artist, let's get a little bit more specific. It's a good way to start out, like, say, if you're a Christian artist, and we'll, again, put a plug in here. If you're a Christian artist, you've got music that you'd like to get out there, you can search out Christian radio online. Please do get in touch with us. Our email is info@notespiremusic.com, and other stations too. So we would love to, and I'm sure other stations would as well, to consider your music. So internet radio means it's putting yourself out there, where maybe other ways you haven't been able to or haven't thought of. If you most of the time it's free to get on, including ours. And if you have enough following, or even if you don't, it's a good place to start with. And it's also a good place that if you've got some airplay on internet radio stations, you can point back to that and say, hey, yeah, my music is being played on this station and this station and this station. And that's good if you're going to our next category, which is commercial radio, of course, which has been around forever, starting out with AM and now FM. And just a side note, a lot of AM and or FM stations are also broadcasting on the internet. But let's talk about commercial radio. It's, of course, the most common form of radio. But there's a lot of pros and cons to commercial radio. The benefits are obvious. If you get on a commercial radio station, you're going to get a lot of play, a lot of exposure. You're going to probably get a huge audience, national, sometimes even global. If you get your songs picked up by a station or stations, no other form of radio is going to give you the same kind of expansion potential as commercial radio can. But then again, it's hard to get onto. I mean, if you've tried, it's not.
We've actually worked with a few artists who have tried to get on even local commercial radio stations and were unable to.
Yeah, even Christian stations.
Yeah.
And but they have a certain, I don't know. One reason is I guess they have a certain standard. Now, I'm not saying good, bad, otherwise, but they have a certain standard that you have to adhere to, and if they feel like your stuff isn't good enough, or you don't that you don't have the audience or the pull, what they say in radio, to be worth playing, then they're probably not going to get your music on there. And commercial radio might even expect some kind of a deal from you, or even some kind of payment. Pay to play by itself is not legal, but there may be other things, ways of getting around that. Anyway, check that out. If a station says, yeah, sure, for this much, if you do this or pay us this, we'll be happy to push your music. Be careful with that. Yeah. So, and then there's college radio, which is something that a lot of us maybe haven't thought of.
Yeah, college radio is really a niche market, but like you were mentioning with commercial radio, how there's pros and cons. Some of the cons to commercial radio are become pros for college radio, but there's also some cons with it as well. So the interesting thing about college radio is that it's really a good place for independent artists to start out, because it's more likely that the audience that's going to be interested in your music will be a college audience. depending on what kind of music you make. But there tends to be a greater listenership for independent or indie type music on a college campus, and it tends to be free for you to get paid or for you to get played. But the con to that is that your play will be limited. So whereas on commercial radio, we're used to switching channels and hearing the same exact song being played over and over again, sometimes simultaneously on 2 different radio stations.
Or even the same station, it plays you every hour.
Every hour or whatever, because of their program directing or whatever. Yeah. College radio, you're more likely to only be played maybe once a day, if that, because they're very limited in terms of like how many times they broadcast and what they broadcast and how often. But you kind of have like a small concentrated listenership there. So if you can get some buzz around your music, it'd be a great place to get heard, especially locally, if you want to kind of build your fan base. And if you have somebody on the inside, somebody in the college, either student or staff, who can really plug you and kind of like create some buzz around you, you could blow up there on that local scene. And, this is something I was thinking about before when we were talking about college radio. This would be a really great way to get your foot in the door of a local community if you were doing a tour or something. Yeah. If you knew that you were going to go into, like, say, Boston, Massachusetts or something in the next few months, if you could get your music to be played on a local college station in that area before you come in, and just get a little bit of buzz and like familiarity to your music, and then come in and advertise that, hey, I'm going to be in town. Right. People have already heard your music, and they're going to be like, oh, I know this, I've heard this, I really like this, and then you're going to boost your the people who are going to want to come see you. Right. In a demographic where you had no traction at all before. So this could be a cool way to get your foot in the door on a local level. Again, the con is that it doesn't go outside of the college itself. Most college radio stations are only broadcast in that local community. They don't really go out, worldwide. Although I don't know if that's changing now with the internet.
That may be changing as they put their broadcasting on the internet.
If they're broadcasting on the internet, you would have a larger pool there. And again, like I said, this is a younger generation, a younger demographic. So if your music really plays to that kind of like college age, where the people are into like more independent and like maybe even like avant-garde music or whatever. I mean, there's different genres that the college age kids would be interested in, but definitely more the independent music, especially, like I said, if you have somebody in there who knows you. And I guess that's the other thing. Not only if you have somebody personally who knows you, but there's also, I think, kind of a feeling that people like to kind of support their local people. Right. If somebody hears you and they realize this artist is from our hometown, and they're hearing you on the radio, there's usually something where people are like, oh, I want to like this because it's from here. Whereas it's somebody like in China or something, you might like the music, but you don't feel a connection there necessarily because you're never going to meet that person or know them. But the fact that you're a locally based artist, you're being heard on the radio, I don't know. I think that kind of creates its own little buzz there.
Yeah, I think it does.
So college radio, if you haven't thought about it before, might be a cool place for you to get your foot in the door. Like I said, it's a niche market, but there's some pros there that you don't get with commercial radio, and maybe not even with internet radio, that are just very unique to that platform. So check it out. It might just be the little boost that you need to get yourself into a whole new market, and you never know what that's going to lead to.
I'd say try all three.
Yeah.
Try all three, definitely. And let us know if you've had some experience with that, or if you're like, hey, guys, what about this? Or I tried this and it didn't work, or I tried this and it did work, or et cetera, just because we want to have some two-way feedback here and learn about what you guys are interested in and how you are reacting to what we're doing here. Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick pause and we will be right back. We have more. I got some really interesting stuff for you coming up next.
You're listening to the Artist Impact Podcast with your hosts, Nate Miller and Paul Gibbs. And now, back to the Artist Impact Podcast with your hosts, Paul Gibbs and Nate Miller.
And we are back.
All right.
Oh, I told you I'd have some more interesting stuff. Not that everything we're talking about isn't interesting, but hopefully everything else we're talking about is useful. But this is just some thoughts about stuff that happened this week or last week, depending on when you're listening to this. We're in the second week, or third week of March. Anyway, George Harrison. Yeah, he recorded. He had a new song, "Within You, Without You." Yeah, after the Beatles. Yeah, first session recording of George Harrison's new song, "Within You, Without You," took place at Abbey Road Studios in London. Huh. And George was I'm sorry, this was the Beatles. George was the only Beatle to perform on this song, the only one. Yeah, it was still called Untitled. Harrison played what is this? The sword mandol? It says the sword mandol and the tambura.
Okay, tambura.
Somebody named Not Versoni played the tabla. Amrat Gajar played the dilruba.
These are like Indian instruments. Yeah.
P.D. Joshi also played the sword mandol. And an undocumented musician was playing a droning tambura.
Wow, was this after their Sgt. Pepper era?
I think so. Yeah,
because it couldn't have been very early on. They weren't into all this experimental stuff.
I think they broke up in '69. I believe was yeah.
Now, did Ringo sing at all?
Ringo did sing.
Okay, on the recordings or just like when he was live playing the drum? Was he actually recorded?
Yeah, he did. He did. One song I remember Ringo singing was "You're 16."
Oh yeah,
you're 16. You're beautiful
and you're mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 1955, Ray Charles peaked at number 2 on the U.S. Rhythm and Blues charts with the Atlantic single "I Got a Woman," which was widely considered to the first song to be labeled soul.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which was a blending of rhythm and blues and gospel. I didn't know that. That's what soul music is.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so Ray Charles, it makes sense. I would have thought maybe Aretha Franklin would have had the first.
The Queen of Soul, right?
Queen of Soul, exactly. But this was before, I guess, in 55, Ray Charles. Ray Charles played a Wurlitzer piano, by the way, among others. 55, Elvis Presley signed a management contract with Colonel Tom Parker, who I guess he took a step forward because he had previously managed the Great Parker Pony Circus.
Okay. Parker Pony Circus.
Great Parker Pony Circus. Yeah. I think some of Elvis's concerts might have been something similar to that. But anyway, one of the acts being a troupe of dancing chickens.
Wow.
Oh, so that's cool. So he went from dancing chickens to dancing chicks. Yeah, okay. All right, one more. All right, well, Mike Love. Anybody, who was Mike Love? What band was he in? Any idea?
I don't know. Who's
Come on, guys. Mike Love?
I don't recognize the name.
Okay, well, he was one of the Brian Wilson, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mike Love, he was born in 1941, American singer, songwriter, and musician who co-founded the Beach Boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he collaborated with Brian Wilson, and he was a lyricist on singles like Fun, Fun, Fun in 1964, California Girls in 65, and Good Vibrations in 1966.
There's some good hits there, yeah.
Mike Love, yeah, so... Little interesting stuff for you there.
Yeah, and you have something else that's really interesting for us from like a historical perspective. Well, all that stuff was historical, but this is really interesting that when you told me about this. So, who's Rosetta Tharpe?
Rosetta Tharpe, yeah. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, actually. And how many of you play a Gibson guitar? Or Epiphone copy? Me? Okay, anyway... Shout, Shout, Shout is a YouTube documentary starring Celise Henderson and Amethyst Kia. All right, so Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she is called the godmother of rock and roll. She was an early adopter. She played a 1961 Les Paul SG. And she was a rock and roll pioneer. Yeah, she changed the world with a high octane gospel sound, powered by among all things back then, the electric guitar and what they call a propulsive playing style. Yeah.
Interesting.
She toured the South of America during the era of Jim Crow and segregation with a sound that would influence early rockers such as Chuck Berry and Elvis. She came before these guys.
Wow.
And then she went on to be a source of inspiration for even contemporary rock acts such as Nova Twins. She played a number of guitars, including the big body jazz guitars like the Gibson L5 and most notably a Gibson Les Paul Gold Top with a trapeze-style tailpiece.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's the 61 Les Paul SG Custom that she's most associated with. So,
I recognize her. I just looked her up, guys, on the internet while Paul was talking. And
Rosetta Tharpe.
Yeah, seeing these images, I've seen this woman before. I just didn't realize what her name was.
Tharpe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing that she was active so long ago.
She was.
And so influential.
They say that she toured with her band in a bus, but not because she had the money for a bus. It was because she could not stay in most hotels.
Wow.
Because she was black.
Right.
Yeah. So check that out. We'll put a link at the bottom of the YouTube here. But Sister Rosetta Tharpe, check her out.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So I know we have a little more to talk about tech-wise, because we promised you guys a few weeks ago that we were going to talk about these new types of headphones. But before we get to that, we also like to give you guys, not that everything that we talk to you guys about isn't practical, but I'd like to give you guys some practical stuff, especially for singers and songwriters.
Yeah. I
know we've been talking about a lot of the, things like the NFTs and the AI stuff, but here's an interesting article. This was on one of the mailing lists I'm on from, I think, Discmaker's blog or CD Baby, one of those two.
Yeah.
But the article is by Mark Bassino, and he's a singer-songwriter based in New York City and does a lot of workshops and seminars. And it's interesting because he's seeing a great influx of these indie artists now asking questions about how do I produce my own music? Because what's happening is now that everybody is the indie artist is becoming bigger and bigger. People are recording their own music.
Yep.
They're becoming their own promoters and everything. They're starting to realize, well, not only do I have to write my own music and record it, but I have to learn how to arrange it, how to produce it, how to mix it. So you have to wear all these hats if you're going to do this yourself instead of going the traditional route of, finding a record label and everything. And so Mark Bassino found that more and more artists are asking him, how do I do this? So a really cool article. I'm just going to give you guys some of the highlights here. He says this is a beginner music producer's checklist. Okay, so beyond just writing the song and recording it, this is what you need to do as a producer. And we'll talk a little bit about how we may be able to help you guys in production if you need that. But he starts out, he says, ask yourself, is the song really finished? And I love how he starts this. He says, without a great song, you have nothing. Period. The best producer in the world can't fix that. And it's true. You might think that you have a great idea, but if it's really not up to par, you can get the best producer in the world. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars and they can't polish a turd. Pardon my French, but if you don't have something to work with, no amount of production is going to make that worth it. So he's saying, take a critical look at your song and say, is this thing actually finished yet? So here's a couple things that he gives you, some ideas for making sure that this is the best thing you can put out before you even get into the production phase. He says, look at each individual section. So the intro, the verse, the chorus, etc. Is each individual section as strong as it possibly could be? Is it interesting and engaging on its own? Take the melody away. Just play the chord progression. Is there anything there that sticks out that just sounds wonky or out of place? Are there too many chords? Does it not make sense without, the drum beat behind it or, your melody over top of it? And if there's anything extraneous, trim the fat, get rid of it. It's really about getting less is more. Don't keep adding stuff in. Take everything away that's not needed so that you have a good, strong song in each and every section. And then he says, check each of the top line melodies for each of your section. So you might be singing one melody in the verse. Maybe there's something different in the pre-chorus and another melody in the chorus or the bridge. Listen to each one of those melodies. Are they hooky? Is there a hook to each one? And are they memorable? He says you want your listeners to walk away after one listen singing at least one melody from your song. Whether that's usually the chorus melody, whether that's the verse, the chorus, the bridge. One of those melodies should be so incredibly hooky and memorable that your listener walks away after the first listen and can't get it out of their head. So the ideal melody line, he says, is intriguing, catchy, not too intricate, and most importantly, singable. Now, of course, if you're doing instrumental music, that's not doesn't come into play. But if you're writing any sort of music with lyrics and singing, you want this thing to be singable so that your listener gets that melody in their head and they want to sing or hum along, to that. So think about that. You don't want it to be too intricate that they can't follow it.
Right.
Next thing after you review the music is to review the lyrics. Are the syllables, do they match the melody that you have? What about your rhyme schemes? Are they consistent both internally and in between rhymes, like the end rhymes and everything? If you guys want more information on how to write lyrics and marry them to your melodies, we have a great video series you can see on YouTube on Notespirer Music TV. We also did that as a podcast, but it's available now on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we did a songwriting series, and one of the episodes was specifically about lyrics. A lot of great information in there to help you to write lyrics that will match your melody lines and match your song. So I highly recommend going to that if you need more information on that. But review your lyrics. Make sure that they fit the melody lines that you've crafted. And he says, don't be sloppy. Fix lyrical lines that aren't excellent. Again, trimming the fat, making sure that everything is perfect as possible before you get to the production phase. And this is also part of production as well. Then he says, check the flow of your lyrical narrative. Now, this is really important. If you're writing a song that is like a story song, does each section add to the story or carry it along? Maybe you started out in the verse and you're telling a story, and then all of a sudden you get to the chorus and it has nothing to do with the procession of the story. If that's the case, you need to fix that so that it makes sense to the listener and doesn't lose them. You want to make sure you capture them and hold them there. You want to advance the plot and keep the main theme or topic clear. Review your song structure. Again, talking about intros, verses, pre-choruses, etc. Does each one of these interconnect and flow smoothly? Is there anything that's extraneous? Now, you might think as a singer or songwriter, like, oh, I have to have a bridge in here. But listen to it critically. Does that bridge really fit? Does it add anything to the song? Or does it just interrupt the flow? You can keep adding things to a song, and it can totally destroy the momentum of your tune and really bore your listener. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes a bridge can really be the most powerful part of the song. But not every song has to have a bridge. And I'm just using that as an example. But it's really about trimming the fat and making sure that only what is needed and most powerful for this song is there. He says, write down the structure of a few of your favorite tunes, analyze their logic, and apply it to your work. And this is a really important learning step that we've talked about so many times on this channel. Going to the artists that you love, the people that you want to kind of aspire to emulate, your favorite songs, your favorite artists, and kind of break down what they're doing, reverse engineer it. Why does that song work so well? Why is it so attractive to you? Why do you love that song so much? What's the structure that they're using, the types of melodies, the types of rhythms? Learn from their examples, and then you're not copying it, you're just learning from them because they've already succeeded, and you want to do the same for your music, and you use it as a model to apply to what you're doing.
Read the lyrics, for example, of one of your style of songs of your favorite artist. And, just forget the music. Just look at the lyric. Just read the lyrics, but without any music. That's not a way to get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Next, he talks about tempo and key. Get a metronome out and experiment. Start at a certain tempo, and then focus on the feel of the song. If your song is more of if the lyrics are reflective and kind of contemplative, you're probably going to have more of a slow, open feel to it. If it's something that's celebratory or exclamatory, it's probably going to be upbeat and a little bit faster. You also want to think about your lyrics. If you can't get all the lyrics out at the tempo that you've chosen, you probably need to slow it down a little bit. Make sure that everything fits well, not just the sound of the music, but the tempo. Another important thing that he brings out here is the key.
Yeah.
Because you might be the person who's writing this song, but not necessarily the person who's going to sing it. Now, you may be if you are a singer-songwriter, but there's a lot of people, even down in Nashville, who are songwriters who you'll never hear them sing their song. They are writing for other artists. So whether you're planning to perform this yourself or write this for somebody else, that kind of plays into what you're doing. So even though you may write this song, like say in the key of G on guitar, the eventual or final vocalist, that might not be the range that is perfect for their voice. So you need to think about that as you're writing the song. When you get together with the vocalist and you play the song for them, if you hear or feel that they're pushing a little too much for those high notes, you might have to drop it a half step or a whole step. Sometimes just a half step can make a world of difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Same thing goes for low. You might think, well, it's a little low, but that's okay. They can get pitchy. Your vocalist can get pitchy at the bottom part of their range as well.
Yes.
So again, if you hear them bottoming out, they're in the basement, bring it up a half step, a whole step, whatever is needed. So always keep that in mind, that the key is also an important part of the song that you're writing based on the person who's singing it. And that might be you.
A little side note there.
Yeah.
If you're like a lot of what we do here is the basic piano track. You're recording with a keyboard and you're doing MIDI. Get that key established before you start adding a lot of other instruments.
Oh yeah.
Because when you do, like for example, we're doing a song here, we might do the scratch piano track, get the whole arrangement down with piano. Then the key can be changed using MIDI. And some you guys know what I'm talking about.
But once you start adding in...
once you start adding in guitars and vocals and things, then there's electronic ways of changing key. But get that key established before you start adding a whole bunch of other, especially acoustic instruments.
Yeah, very good point.
I thought so.
Yeah. So continuing here, again, this article from Mark Bassino. I starred this, actually. He makes a very interesting point here, and I really like this. He says, if your song effectively holds a listener's attention when performed in a stripped-down arrangement with just a guitar or piano and a voice, you know you're truly onto something. And how many times have we found this? There's always, especially as a producer, there's always like the temptation to keep adding more. Oh, well, we could add drums and bass and
strings
and organ and percussion
stuff.
And like
it'll sound great.
You're like a kid in a candy store. Like, what else can we add? But you might actually be taking away from the song by adding so much to it. And we found this. An example was we're recording Sarah Collier in the studio right here. And she was doing a version of Casey Musgrave's Rainbow. And the original is just piano and Casey's vocal.
Yep.
So we reproduced the backing track in the key that we needed for Sarah. Sarah sang it, and we had the option of creating our own arrangement, adding all kinds of stuff to it. But you know what? That song was so powerful, just hearing her voice and the piano, that we let it alone.
Yep.
We left it alone, and it was beautiful. You can't improve on that.
Especially when you're doing an EP or a whole album. I think it's great to have at least one song on there that is just vocal and guitar or vocal and piano.
Right.
We had another one that was just keyboard or just piano, and we had, I forget her name, but came in and just did the cello.
Yeah.
And just that. So, yeah.
Leave the light on.
Keep the light on.
Keep the light
great.
on,
Yeah. So, anyway.
So that was talking about stripped down. Now we are talking about your instrumentation. If you are going to add instrumentation, here's where you can get creative. So what instruments, as a producer, if you're a beginning level producer, start thinking about what instruments you do want to add to your arrangement. Are you going to have electric guitars, acoustic guitar, piano, keyboards, strings, horns, harmony vocals, bass, Glockenspiel? Anybody remember what a Glockenspiel is? I remember that from orchestra, but
was that the thing you hit like this?
It was like the chimey thing.
Yeah.
So you let your imagination run wild and come up with ideas, and don't. He says, and kind of tongue in cheek, don't worry that you don't know a Glockenspiel player. But I love that, So just like the sky's the limit, really, in terms of arrangement. You can come up with any idea that you want. Not necessarily that you're going to use them all, but here's where you can get creative. But you have to then decide, he says, put pen to paper and take each section and decide what instruments will inhabit these sections. So even if you have all these instruments that I just mentioned, they're not necessarily going to be played every part of the song.
Right.
And we do that all the time here in the studio. We decide, okay, well, I want the bass to come in here at this first pre-chorus or whatever. There's no bass in the first verse, but at the turnaround after the first verse, the bass comes in there and then drops back out or whatever. And so there's ways of bringing each one in and out. So you want to map that out with the sections of your songs and have a plan to build the arrangement of your song. And the other thing to think about is that not all of these instruments are going to be playing the same thing. If every one of your instruments that you bring in is playing the same 4 chords with the guitar or the piano, this is going to be the most boring song in the world.
Right.
You want to think about counter melodies and counterpoint and different harmonies and little licks and riffs and things. Not every instrument's going to play all the time, and it's not always going to be playing the same thing. So that's something to think about. What do you want these little voicings to come in? What do you want the harmony background vocals to be doing? When are they singing? Are they just doing vocalizations like oohs and ahs? Are they doubling the melody? All kinds of things to think about. The parts they don't need to be intricate or complex. They just need to serve the song and keep the listener engaged. So that's something that we do as producers here in the studio. We can give a critical ear to something and listen and say, okay, that's going to help the song, or no, that really detracts and we need to pull it away or delete it completely. Even the worst idea, here he ends up, Mark Bassino ends this article by saying, even the worst idea will give you clarity and point you to the part that will actually make the cut. So don't be afraid to throw like the kitchen sink at the song, but just realize in the end, the final edit, a lot of this stuff's going to end on the cutting room floor. You won't use every idea that you have, but it'll give you some direction, and you can say, yeah, that works or that doesn't work. So a lot of great practical things here, like I said, for the indie artist who's just kind of starting down that leg of becoming their own producer. And again, I said at the beginning of this that I would let you guys know that's something that we do here at Notespire Music. We work with artists, whether we're right here in the studio or even remotely. We've done song reviews for people who have sent us their music, and we can give you an official and professional song review, tell you what we would do in terms of the arrangement, what we would improve, what we would leave alone because it's already perfect. And we can help you if you have a stripped down version and you want to make a full album arrangement with, drums, bass, percussion, backing vocals, piano, organ, Glockenspiel. We could probably do. We haven't done that yet, but if you need help in making arrangements of your songs, again, get in contact with us. That's exactly what we do. We help artists just like you to do that for your music. So notespiremusic.com. Or you can email us directly at info@notespiremusic.com. Yeah. So what about these newfangled headphones?
These are something else. These are really something else. We're going to give you, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, we'll give you a link to a couple of these, and you can check them out. But the theory behind this is they're called bone-conduction headphones.
Sounds like a torture device.
It does. It squeezes your head until the music just comes out, and Anyway, well, they were birthed or born out of the need for safety when you're doing activities like cycling, for example, and you're outdoors, you're out in traffic, et cetera, because the earbuds that we typically use or headphones, they block your ear. They
noise cancellation, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So what these are, they're not designed to drown out the world, but instead they allow you to listen to music or podcasts or whatever, and also at the same time remain aware of the sounds in your environment.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they don't go in your ears. They work by relying on a method that uses transducers to send vibrations through your cheekbone and jaw to your inner ear.
That is so strange.
Can you imagine?
No.
And your brain then processes the vibrations, turning them into the content that is streaming through the headphones.
It's vibrating your skull, and your brain reinterprets it as music.
As music.
or talk shows or whatever you're listening to.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is. It is. Again, we'll give you a link so you can look them up. But basically, those headphones, they're not like these guys that we're wearing. They're the ones that they come around and they will touch your temples, like here in this area. And
It's like sci-fi.
I guess they squeeze pretty hard because they've got to be able to, yeah. So this article says they are a little trippy. Yeah. But it says they work and they are much safer than putting earbuds in your ear if you're doing activities like cycling, driving, or running outdoors.
Or babysitting.
Or babysitting.
Because you want to hear the baby cry, but you still want to listen to your favorite tunes.
Yeah, yeah. So what do they cost? Well,
yeah, I'm curious.
Cheapest things. Man, I saw some on Walmart for about $20 or Amazon,
really?
whatever.
I can't imagine they work that well for $20.
That's what I'm thinking.
You might have a lobotomy if you use those.
Okay.
Sonic lobotomy.
And the most popular brand is called Shocks.
No, that's not a very good.
SHOKZ. Shocks.
I would be afraid to try a Shocks brand Bone-conduction headphone.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. And those can range up, believe it or not, almost $2,000.
Wow.
Almost $2,000 for these things. So I read some reviews on Amazon about them, and some people say these are just terrible. They're just pieces of junk. They don't fit good. They hurt my head.
I'd be afraid of that.
Or some people that with the most expensive ones, they say, "Oh, these are great. These sound fantastic. They fit." And I guess bottom line is you get what you pay for. But
can you get them customized to the shape and size of your head?
Probably. I didn't see that.
For another $1,000?
Another $1,000, right. Go on the Shocks website. It'd be shocking what you might realize.
Yeah, maybe that's why they call it that, because it's shocking, the sticker price.
This review says that you'll never... this is an opinion, okay? You're probably never going to get the same quality as you would from a pair of in-ear headphones or over-the-ear headphones like what we're wearing right now. And as an alternative to these things, if you do want to stay aware of your surroundings without sacrificing audio quality, there are plenty of true wireless earbuds out there with what they call transparency mode. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, me neither.
But they feed in, they go in your ears like regular earbuds, but they feed in sound in addition to the sound that you're hearing from the sound source. They feed in sound from the outside world as well. And
so it's like having a room mic when you're weering in-ear monitors
exactly.
on stage.
Yeah, and I think, and that's a lot of the complaint or observation or whatever, or downside of using in-ear monitors when you're on stage performing, because you don't hear the room.
Yeah,
unless there's some room mics.
It's very disorienting and almost isolating because you can't hear.
So if you guys have checked those out, or if you do check them out, would you let us know? We'd like to know what you think.
I haven't even seen anybody wearing these things
I haven't
yet.
either. Well, you might not. Well, yeah, you would know if you look close because they're not in their ear.
All right, I'm going to do an image search here so I can see what these look like.
But let us know what you think of them if you do try them, or if you, So they're called Bone-conduction headphones.
All right, this looks like something the Borg would make you wear.
Yes, right, exactly.
Interesting. It's like a cochlear implant. For music.
Yeah. So very interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, that's all we've got for you right now, I think.
Well, we've got a lot more, but we've run out of time. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yep. So, hey, we thank you for being with us and letting us share all this with you. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. If there's a topic that you'd like us to cover, if you got a comment on something that we've already covered, we're going to do these about every 2 weeks. So please do go to our Notespire Music TV channel on YouTube. You can search that out. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. Website is notespiremusic.com. And of course, again, the email is info@notespiremusic.com. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it. And WNSMDB, Notespire Radio, for our 24/7 internet radio station featuring independent artists just like you guys, and also some devotional elements on there.
Yeah.
People like Charles Stanley and Who else is on there?
Ron Hutchcraft is
Ron
on
Hutchcraft,
there.
yeah.
We got Ted Brennan's Consider This series.
And Coffee and Do Nots.
Coffee and Do Nots.
I love that.
Check that out. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings at 7:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 a.m. Yeah, so all kinds of great stuff on there. And remember, we're always looking for your music. So, yeah. So, all right, until we see you again, please do take care of yourselves.
And take care of each other.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Artist Impact Podcast is a production of Notespire Music, LLC. At Notespire Music, we empower independent Christian musicians to grow their God-given music potential by refining their craft and extending their music ministry reach through mentorship, training, trusted resources, music production, and artist promotion. Notespire Music, helping you gain confidence, grow your talent, and advance your impact. For more information, visit notespiremusic.com. That's NOTESPIREMUSIC.com.